Very warm welcome from London, Biggin Hill Airport, Echo Golf Kilo Bravo. We're in the WB Sim, or originally the JP Logistics Cessna 152, and we're sitting outside the rather lovely oldie sort of terminal building that we were not allowed to park in front of when I was training at Biggin in the early to mid 90s. We had our own little corner of the airfield that we called home. And I'm going to do today like a NAVEX flight, a navigation exercise flight from Biggin, as once I did to Goodwood. But we're going to do it old school style. And I don't mean by VOR and ADFs and NDBs and goodness knows what. We're going to do it with the wind protractor, the Whizz-Wheel, as we used to call it, the Pulley CRP1. There are a few examples of this online that you can use for free, and I'll put a link in the description, because it's something that not very many, if any, have covered in a simulator. You know, how you plan from the sort of seat of the pants rudimentary PPL perspective. Probably do it a completely different way these days with the GPS, what have you, but we didn't have that in our day. We had literally a map and a Chinograph pencil and a ruler and a Whizz-Wheel. We had to work things out, so we're going to do that today. Okay, so it begins with PPL students ringing up various airfields and saying, hello, we're flying into you today, and what are your winds at 2,000 feet? Okay, and they used to give you a number, 030 at 15 knots, and you used to write it down and then go off and do your flight planning, and that might be at 10 in the morning. By the time you finished it, it was 10:15, 10:20. Then you find your instructor, and then he said, yeah, that's okay, you're good to go. And then it was 10:25 before you got out to your airplane, pre-flighted at 10:30, got in, started up 10:35, and by the time you got to the holding point ready to take off, it was like 3/4 of an hour later. It was much later, so the winds probably changed considerably, but we didn't have all the modern goodies that we've got today. So the other thing that we could contend with is that the reported winds, what we might get from the Met Office, might well be accurate in the real world. Equally, they might not be very accurate, and indeed there's always a discrepancy. But what's actually in the sim matters to us a great deal as well, because not only have you got the forecast, the actual reported winds at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet, but that might not correspond to what's in the sim. So there was a time when I used to get into my airplane, slew up to 2,000 feet, find out what the winds were in the simulator, slew myself back down to the ground and plan on those winds. And yeah, is that cheating? I'm not really sure, because there was always a discrepancy. These days though, MSFS seems to be quite good with winds, and I've done a few very good VFR flights in this oldie worldy style. I've also done some not so good flights in this oldie worldy style where the wind's really, I don't know, maybe it's my heading, my speed keeping, I don't know, maybe it's my flying. And of course in the simulator it is a bit harder to do it, to keep level. And so yeah, there are lots of factors to consider. So we'll do the best that we can, and we're going to do a very short route from Biggin Hill to Goodwood, and we'll begin with the Met Office weather briefing. So let me just get the browser on the page. Okay, so we'll go to the Met Office, and this you can sign up for free, and you go to the Aviation Briefing Service, and then you do briefing charts, and then wind and temperature. And this is pretty much what we had. This is all that we had. Yeah, it's wind and temperature, and then we want, it's not quite what I expected to see. Where's the wind chart? Okay, pressure. We've got all sorts of spot winds. That's what we want, spot winds. There we go. So spot winds. And we don't want forecast. We want low level. We want. Yeah, no, I guess we do want that. So we want. It's the 2nd of April, and we want this one. Is that good enough for us today? 214 UK. Spot wind forecast, low level. This is what we want, I guess. So we'll go to click on this one. No, that's not what we want. Let's try this one. Spot wind. Let's go to this one. That's what we want. And when we used to call up the, you know, the airfields, you know, what's your 2,000 foot wind? To be fair to them, they were probably just reading it off this chart here. And when I say reading it, you know, I think more accurately it's interpolating from this chart. So we're basically, you see where it's got Echo Golf Lima Lima Heathrow here. We are going to be flying in this area here. Okay. So we've got to interpolate the charts to get an approximate 2,000 foot wind. So here, much too far up north for us, but it's 210 at 10 knots. Down here it's 200 at 25 knots. Here it's 240 at 30 knots. And here it's 270 at 15. Well, goodness me, that's just like, well, we're not quite sure what we need. How do you interpret? Well, you just have to make a best guess. So let's see what other information we can have. So let's get sim brief. Let's get dispatch system. And we'll put a very basic flight plan in. We'll do Echo Golf Kilo Bravo, Echo Golf Hotel Romeo. We're going to go for the Cessna 152, sorry, 172, but not that we actually want this route. I'll show you what we want from this, but we are going to put our route in, and that's basically westbound to Ockham and then southwest to Goodwood. Okay. What we want from this bit, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. There you go. What we want here is if we click on the weather icon here and we go to wind barbs and then we zoom in a little bit. How do you zoom in on this? Oh yeah, you just use the scroll wheel. Not clever. Gosh, never thought of that. What we're looking for now are wind barbs. Now these are very cunning little markers, and here is one there. You've got to look for them. There's another one there. And what else have we got? You've got to get in tune with finding. I wish they could make them sort of glowing red or yellow or something, so you can actually see them more easily. There's a hint, Navigraph, for you to do that. And I'm sort of running out of wind barbs at the moment, and patience probably. We've got two. 1, 2. We need another one really. Yeah. Maybe not. Who knows? There's another one down there, another one down there. There should be some up here somewhere, surely. Okay. Well, we'll run with that then. I think there's one hiding behind the line. There it is. So that's a bit closer. So this is coming from the west, and I would say pretty much from 270, and this is like an arrow. So if you imagine those two shorter lines being the feathers of the arrow, then you know it's pointing from left to right, okay, from the west to east. It's a westerly wind. I would say 270, and each one of those shorter lines is 10 knots. Okay, so that will be 270 at 20 knots, and that's what I'm going to plan on here. That looks pretty good. Happy with that. But let's go to this one. Let's go to another one here. So this is, again, from about 270, maybe slightly 280 possibly, and it's got 2 and a bit feathers to it. So that's 20 knots, and the short one's 5 knots. That's 25 knots. Okay, 25 knots, that is. Now, this first leg is going to be heading west. Okay, so it's not going to be affected very much in terms of being blown off track. Rather more, it's going to be affected by your ground speed. Okay, because that's going to be 25 knots. That's 20 knots. So we can pretty much say it's going to be at least 20 knots in this bit here. But we're flying into wind, so it's not really going to affect our track as such over the ground. On the other hand, this is nearly max drift. In other words, it's nearly a direct crosswind. So we are going to be blown, as we're heading southwest, we're going to be blown to the east. So our track, we can anticipate having to aim a little bit more to the southwest in order to stay on this planned track here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to use 20 knots. That's 25, that's 25, and that's 20. I really could do finding one more wind barb up around here. So there's one there. There it is. So maybe the clue is to zoom in a bit. That's 20 knots there, more from 290, I would think. Okay, so we're going to use 20 knots, and 20 knots 270 here, and 20 knots 270 here. So we've got the wind, okay, but we could do one more thing. We could slew in the simulator, but I don't want to do that. We're going to use windy, okay, and windy when you start gives you sort of an approximate top-down view with, excuse me, with surface winds. So we're going to just change that to 2,500 foot winds, and we're going to now zoom in. You can see actually that the wind is quite strong here out over Kent and the Channel, much less so Warlingham, which is pretty much where Biggin Hill is, Woking, which is where Ockham is, and Chichester. It's actually a bit stronger down here, but hopefully by then we'll be visual. So let's just zoom in. So we've got 2,500 set in the altitude scale. So wherever we click, we should get an indication of what the wind is. So it's showing it's westerly 17 knots. Let's move it to here, Woking. Westerly at 15 knots. Let's go down towards Chichester, halfway to Chichester, 16 knots. Okay, so it's suggesting that the wind is slightly less than the Simbrief wind barbs, but I'm happy to go with the stronger wind from here. Okay, there's not much in it, so we'll see how that pans out. So what we're going to do is to transfer the winds to our pilot log, our P log. Okay, and this is a VFR log. Now this is just something I've whipped up. Okay, this is literally taken from Sky Vector, and I've blanked out and changed some of the headings because I wanted it to be big for you to see and I wanted it to be clear. So we're going to just add some data into this. So it's put in a better sized font. There we go. So Echo Golf Kilo Bravo. Here, Ockham. And here, Echo Golf Hotel Romeo, which is Goodwood. Okay, and we've got winds. So we're going to do 270, and wind speed was 20. We can do the same here. 270, oops, and 20. Okay, and we're going to fly at 2,400 feet, and I'll explain why in a sec. And here we might as well, if we've got the airplane nicely trimmed out, we're going to carry on at 2,400 feet. And I'll explain that in a sec. And we're going to fly at 90 knots, which is a nice number for the 152. It's about 2,300, 2,400 RPM, something of that nature. Okay, and we'll get some more data in a second, but let me explain about the altitude first of all. So Biggin Hill, let's get a little nav map. Now, I'm not going to use a little nav map, so you can see it's positioned myself here at Biggin Hill. I'm going to switch that off. Okay, I don't want to use this. This is just for reference now. So I'm going to add Biggin Hill as a departure. It's going to say, what runway do you want? Well, actually, I'm not really interested in putting a runway in it, so I'm going to delete it immediately. Bye-bye. There we go. And I'm going to put Goodwood as the destination. And I'm going to say, what runway do you want? We want 24. But again, I'm going to delete it because I'm just in a bad mood. So, bye-bye. And then we're going to put Ockham. Okay, so we're going to add Ockham to the flight plan. And the reason I've done that is so we can get the headings and the distances, okay, but not quite that simple. The other thing is 2,400 feet, because if we get the airspace, there we go, we got, actually the airspace was switched on, okay, you can see that we've got the city to the north of, oops, hang on, let's do that again, city to the north of us, just there, you can see it. You've got Gatwick to the south of us, you've got Heathrow to the north of our track, and above you, at 2,500 feet, you've got the TMA. And you definitely don't want to be flying in the TMA with big airliners in it. Otherwise, you will be in the Magistrates Court Monday morning, I can promise you. So, so what we're going to do, the first very short section is going to be to Kenley Aerodrome. Okay, and I'll explain that in a second. We're going to add Kenley. There we go. So the leg we're going to plan is going to be pretty much from Kenley, in fact just south of Kenley. Actually, let me get rid of Kenley. We'll do it a slightly different way. In fact, let's do it in no, we'll do it here. So get rid of Kenley. Delete, where's delete? Bye-bye Kenley. So we're just going to pick this up and move it just to the south of Kenley, about there. Okay, now the reason we're doing that is because there is noise abatement at Biggin Hill. So here's the runway at Biggin Hill, 21. Here's Biggin Hill Village. You have to avoid that at all costs. So the noise abatement procedure is essentially takeoff, very slight right turn immediately after takeoff, okay, to avoid Biggin Hill Village, and then you want to track southwest, south of Kenley, because Kenley's a gliding site. Okay, so something like that will be fine. So we're going to plan this bit here from south being Kenley. I'm just going to move it maybe a bit further south, like that. Okay, from Kenley to Ockham. Now Ockham is a disused airfield. There's part of a runway still showing, and it's annoying when we get all those pop-ups, isn't it? So the track we want is 277 and it's 13.6 miles. Let's call it 14 miles. The next bit from Ockham to Goodwood just about avoids this corner of Gatwick airspace, and so we can plan directly from Ockham. We'll be going past that's Midhurst VOR directly down to Goodwood Aerodrome, and we're going to be on runway 24 down there because the winds are, as we know, from the southwest. Actually, there is another runway there that might be in operation, but we'll just see what the winds are like en route. So that is 204 for 29 miles. Okay, so the first one we've got to put in is 277 at 14. So we're going to go back to this, okay, and it's 2 277, distance 14. Variation in this neck of the woods is -1, so we subtract that from our magnetic wind corrected course. And the next one was, I can't remember, it was 204 at 29. 204, 29, and again magnetic variations -1. Okay, so that's pretty much what we can get for the moment without using our Poulies CRP1 wind protractor. Now there are a couple of these online. Here's one of them, and I'll put a link to another in a moment. So this is one side of it. This is the slide rule, and on the flip side of this, on the actual physical instrument, you have the wind protractor. So you always begin by putting the central dot over a sensible number, something like 100, and then you mark the wind. So the wind we're using is 270 at 20 knots. So we're going to put a red mark on 20 knots. So that's 10, that's 20. There we go. That's 20 knots. Now we put this little marker on the airspeed, and as I said, 90 knots is good for the 152, so we put that marker on 90 knots. Oh dear, I've just moved that red dot. Let me put it back. There we go. Okay, and then so you've got the wind, so we're going to fly at 90 knots, and we've got the wind 270, which is west, at 20 knots, marked from our true airspeed. Now we get the first track, and that is 277. So we now move this to 277. Okay, and as you can see, what we've got to do is move the red dot down to the airspeed, because this will give you now the wind correction angle, which is about 2 degrees to the left, and your ground speed, which as you can see is 71 knots. So we'll be going 71 knots over the ground, 90 knots in the air, but 71 knots over the ground, and our wind correction should be, we're going to go 2 degrees left. That's not 277, that's 275. Okay, so we put in 275, and our ground speed will be 71. Okay, so 275 minus 1 is 274. Okay, so that will be our wind corrected heading from south of Kenley to Ockham. The next thing is 204. So we put the wind onto 204. And then we put the little red marker onto the airspeed, 90. And this will give us our ground speed, which as you can see is 80. But the wind correction is nearly 12 knots to the right, which makes sense. So that is 204 plus 12, 206, 216. And we've got 80 knots. So 216, and we've got 80 knots. Oh, sorry, that should be 216, and we'll just need to delete that and make that 215. Okay, so we've got our wind correction angles. Do they make sense? Well, let's have a quick look at Navigraph charts, little nav map. So we've got the wind coming from the west, and our track needs to be 203. In order to track 203, we have to fly to 815. So we're going to be flying slightly more to the west in order to cover that track on the ground. So yeah, that makes sense. And of course with this leg here we're flying mostly into wind, so it's not going to really have a great bearing on our left and right, you know, whether it's pushing us left or right of track. But it will have some bearing. We're just aiming 2 degrees pretty much left of our ground track here. So that all makes sense. So what's missing? Well, what's missing now is how long it's going to take us to fly, because we've got our ground speeds, and notice that are significantly less than our airspeed. Okay, so we've got to work out how long it's going to take us to fly these distances with these ground speeds. Okay, not 90 knots, because that's not what we're going to be doing over the ground. It is what we're going to do in the air, but not over the ground. That's our ground speed for the 2 legs there. So first thing we've got to do is 71 and 14. So we go to the other side of this. This is the wind computer. So we have to put this onto 71, okay, which is there. Okay, 60 minutes. In 60 minutes, we'll do 71 miles. Well, that's obvious, isn't it? So how long will it take us to do 14 miles? Well, we just read off the scale here. So 14 miles, pretty much 12 minutes. In it goes, 12 minutes. Okay. Next one is 80 knots, 29 miles. So we want to do 80 knots. So in 1 hour, tick, 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 tock. We'll do 80 miles. And we want to do 29. So we have to go to 30, and then there it is, 29, and that's going to take us pretty much 22 minutes. Okay, so that is out. I'm going to save that. Is it saving? I don't think it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, I've got a. This is on a hard disk, so it's taking a little longer than normal. Right. So next thing we need to do is to have a quick look at little nav map, and have a look at some things that we need to see en route. So we've got the M23. So we've got Kenley and the M23. Then we've got. It's all very built up. So whilst there might be a corridor here along the M25, it is really built up, so it's very hard to distinguish between one town and another. Okay, so we take off, we've got Kenley, and then we're going to cross the M23, okay, just north of where it joins the M25. So let's write that down. We got Kenley, let's do it in caps, Kenley. We've got M23. What else have we got? A little bit further on, we've got, we will parallel the M25 for a little bit. So we're going to write M25 on our chart. So M25. And then we've got, what else can we see? Epsom Racecourse. I'm not sure we will see that, whether it's very clear. We could see it in the real world, but let me get rid of that. There we go. Hopefully now we won't get that blessed pop-up. Right, I don't know if we'll see it in the sim. In the real world, you could actually see Epsom Racecourse. It's clear as, you know, it was. You could see all the, you know, the white posts where the horses used to race. We're not going to use any VORs. Of course, there is a VOR at Biggin, at Ockham, and at Goodwood, but we're not going to use those. There's also an NDB at Epsom. We're not going to use that either. But anyway, we'll write Epsom Racecourse down in case. So EPSOM, and so that's what we need to see in order, okay, at various points. Let's look now the other leg. So we've got, what have we got? So we're going to turn to the southwest. What have we got? That's Guildford. So we're going to cross the A3. So we're going to write that down. A3. Then we've got Guildford on our right. So G Ford. Guildford. Then we've got Guildford. Then we've got Godalming. Again, that's going to be quite hard to see. We've got Dunsfold. Now, Dunsfold is being rebuilt, unfortunately. Very sad. They're going to make it into a housing estate. But anyway, Dunsfold is on our left-hand side. So, Dunsfold. And then we've got... Now, Midhurst VOR we've got, but we're not going to use that. And we might just tune in Goodwood VOR, which is 11475, because it's there's not much to see down here. Okay, so you will see Goodwood Harbour. Okay, you might see Bognor Regis on the coast. You might see this point here, but maybe not. So we'll have this ready just in case. But what we might see is Midhurst, and I think there's Petworth somewhere, Pulborough, Billingshurst, Petworth, there we go, Petworth. So Midhurst and Petworth. But other than that, there's not really much to see. So Midhurst, Petworth. Right, so that's that bit. Okay. And we'll see how we get on. I'm going to save that. Okay. We'll see how we get on. So I'm going to take this off the screen. I'll bring it back every now and then. In fact, let's do it a different way. Let's save this as a PNG, and then we can open it up separately. Flatten it. Thank you. So I'm just going to open that up now. So we've got it in a little window. Oh, hang on. That's a PNG. I'll rename it. PNG. Then open up. Should open up in a pop-up like that. I'm going to make this the right size. Okay, there we go. So I can bring that onto screen as and when I need it. As I said, we're not going to use little nav map. That's now going to get hidden. I'm not going to use that again. Okay. And if I just bring in our Navigraph charts again, if we get the VFR map, it shows you here the circuits that you can expect. So the departure from runway 21 is an immediate right turn, and when you're sort of halfway through clearing Biggin Hill Village on the left, it's a right turn south of Kenley, and then you'd call Biggin up saying we're south of Kenley, and they'll tell you to probably contact London Direct or somebody else. Okay, so you got those routes clearly shown on the Navigraph charts. So again, we're not going to use this, and we're not going to cheat on that. So we've got the wind sorted out, so we don't need that anymore. We don't need this anymore, but we might need it en route in case the winds are completely wrong. And we can go to the simulator, and I'm going to refuel tabs. Now, actually, the weather's looking pretty rubbish now. It wasn't this morning. It was blazing sunshine when I first started this, but heck, let's see how we get on. So when you used to check the fuel, you used to put one foot on this little foot plate here and another here. Hold yourself up with this handle, and then look inside the fuel tanks. There's a little metal marker, and that's what we used to call tabs. And when the fuel is level with that sort of metal flange, you know you had 2/3 fuel in that tank. So when we say tabs, it's 2/3 full, and that was a good compromise between performance and weight, and you could carry your instructor with you, or if you're doing a solo NAVEX, which we're going to do today. So we're going to just do the weight and balance very quickly. Not weight and balance, we're just going to put tabs fuel in it, which 66%, that'll do nicely. I'm going to put my weight here. I'm not quite sure if actually having much luck clicking in there. There we go. That'll do it. I'll do 80, and here we're going to do 0. There we go. So 2/3 fuel and just one pilot on board. That may or may not be my real weight, but only I will know. Okay, so we've done a walk around. Of course we have. I love this very dirty livery. It's just, they were a bit tidier than this, the ones that we used to fly, but this is pretty much the colours of our favourite 152, which was Golf Bravo Foxtrot Oscar Echo. So anyway, let's get inside the aircraft, and we can fire it up. So we'll hide the yoke, and first thing to do is to get the battery and the alternator on. We'll get some lights, so nav and B can come on. Okay, and we just check all the circuit. Let me hide the other yoke. Check all the circuit breakers. They all seem to be in. What's him? No, he's in. Okay, put the yoke back, and get the fuel on. And I just need to reset my throttle quadrant, so bring the mixture fully lean and the throttle closed. Parking brake is on, and we need to prime the aircraft. So parking brake is on, so we'll prime it 5 times. And we look around, and then we open the window, and we just do clear prop, clear prop. Oh, you clear prop. Okay, so he's got the message. So we'll close the window. There we go. So looking around. So anybody around? No, we're all good. So we can start our engine. So we just get the. Now I'm not going to do any of the power checks or anything like that. Okay, just so you know, I'm just going to go for it. Clear prop. Okay, so we didn't get a start. So, mixtures. I've got my throttle quadrant right here. So let's do that again. Crack the throttle open, and it's there we go. So we've got a good start immediately after start. 1200 on the RPM. Okay, and the reason for that is so the plugs don't foul. Okay, so 1200 and no oily deposits on the plugs. So when you get to take off, I mean, we should do a power check, so we're not going to today. I'm sure you can find better videos on how to do power checks. So in my day we used to squawk 7000 conspicuity code. So I'm just going to go to on that, and the altitude encoding quite yet, and check the trim set for takeoff. It's just there we go. It's trim set for takeoff. Go 1 stage of flap. Okay. Now I will get the ATIS, but I really couldn't get the well, let's try again. Maybe it wasn't working yesterday. So let's get the VFR map. In my day, ATIS was 12187. ATIS today is 13568. So 13568. So we'll get that dialed in. 13568. And you're gonna tell me what I'm doing wrong, I hope. 68. Come on. 13568 we have. And yeah, you see, like yesterday, nothing. 13568. We're on com 1. I don't know what to say. External. Well, who knows? Who knows? So we're not going to get lid dialed in. We might need lid later. We'll see how we get on. So first things first, let's get the QNH set. Of course, we can just press B, but I know the altitude of the apron here is 580, so I'm just going to dial in 580, and then we'll just double check that we're pressing B. So 5. I think that's low. There we go. So 560. and we're going to align the DI, and we should do it the old school way. So that's showing, there's a bit of parallax error here, so that's showing 205. Let's get 205 on here. Gone the long way around, haven't I? Yes, of course you have. I'm going to press D. There we go. D. Sorted. Much easier. Right. And the rest, I think we are good to go. So one stage of flap, trim set for takeoff. We've got taxi clearance because I've just rung up on the radio that isn't working. So let's get the parking brake off and let's get rolling. Okay, so okay, so we'll taxi along the yellow brick road. So we clear on our right, clear on our left. Yep. So what I need to do, gosh, I'm having a lot of right rudder to stay straight even on the taxi. It's a bit worrying. My goodness me, I can't even turn the corner. Wow. Let's slow down then. Wow. Why is that then? Such a strong wind from the west. Wow. Couldn't even keep straight. So I'm going to get the P-log up on the screen. There we go, and I'm going to pop it off onto the other screen. I'll bring it back every now and then. So yeah, we've got a bit of a quartering tailwind. So what we should do is aileron. So the elevator's fully back. Oh no, is it fully forward? Fully forward. I think I can't. Do you know? I can't remember. And into wind. So we're going to just come to a stop here. And we're going to line up on the runway. And I'm really struggling, running out of rudder authority. So whether this flight is actually doable, I don't know, because to be honest with you, I can't even taxi. We will find out shortly. Right, so before we line up, because I wasn't able to do it then, we'll just do a quick check. So clear on the right, and we are clear on the left. So we can get the landing light. Well, we should have had the taxi light on. There's another demerit mark. Okay. So I'm not going to get the clock running until we get south of being Kenley. Okay. We will see Kenley very clearly in a short moment. So, right, 1200 in the RPM. We should do power checks. We haven't done that. So let's get going. So I'm just going to feed the power in very, very gently into wind. Aileron. Right, I'm bringing the power in very gently. Gosh, we are really struggling today. 60 knots, 65 knots. Around we go. Gosh, that is very difficult. Very difficult. Right, so let's see if we can keep that ball centered. 300 feet, good for flaps. So we're coming up to 900. So trying to keep that ball centered. Not easy. Okay, 300 feet, flaps can come up. And when we get over the perimeter, and we're holding that runway heading, holding that runway, right, so we're over the perimeter. So we're just going to take that right hand turn, very gentle right hand turn. Okay, and we're going to climb with full power, climbing. We should be at 65 knots, which will be a little bit too fast. So raising that nose, getting to 65 knots, trimming it out to climb at 65 knots. Okay, there's Biggin Hill Village down there. We're about halfway along it, so we're now going to take up a heading. So we've got Kenley on our right. So I need to find Kenley. It was much easier in the real world, literally. So let's have a look. Can we see Kenley? Is it on the nose? It was much easier in the real world. Really, truly it was. Is that Kenley down there? No. Well, we've only just taken a very okay, so 2,400 feet. 2,300, 2,400 RPM should give us about 90 knots. We want to really stay out of cloud, and we don't want to go above 2,500 at all. And I need to see Kenley, so somebody tell me where Kenley is, please. So we're going to try and stay at 2,400 feet, and I can't see Kenley, and we need to be to the south of Kenley. I don't want to. It's much easier in the real world, I can tell you. Stood out like a. We shouldn't be in cloud. Is that Kenley down there? Am I 1 o'clock? No, that's not Kenley. We wouldn't be in cloud either. I can promise you that. Right, let's come out of cloud. Come on. I think that's Kenley down there. I can't tell. Or is that it over there? So that is the M23 there, and I can't believe that we haven't seen Kenley. That's the M23, so where is Kenley? I think they must have moved it. Maybe they've closed it down. Oh, this is ridiculous. I think Kenley's all the way over there. Yep, that's Kenley over there. So we can turn onto track and we can start the clock. So 274 we want on the heading. We're way too south. 274, and we want 90 knots. So speed up to 90 knots and we'll start the clock. So we are way too south. I've never had that much trouble finding Kenley, I can't believe it. Right, so we want 90 knots and 2,300 feet looks about okay. So we can switch our landing light off, and we should do a wind check, a Frida check. This is very strange. Okay, so let's keep up our track. I'm just trying to bring it round back to where we would have been. So 274, and it is 12 minutes. So 274 we have, and try and fly at straight level at 90 knots. We might need to come down a little bit more because that looks like it's going to take us into cloud. So we've got the N25, so we've got some, right, so we've done the N23, we've got the N25 to our left. We're trying to keep a heading of 274. We need to do a quick Frida check, so fuel is on and sufficient for the flight. We're just about to go into cloud again, so let's just come down. I have to do low level. It was so nice this morning. It was just blue skies, I can't believe this. Typical England. Okay, so we'll try and stay out of cloud. Of course we have to VFR. So make fuel on and sufficient, Radio, as I said, completely dysfunctional. Engine, let's do a quick carb check. T's and P's all in the green, and battery not discharging, so we can close the. Let's keep 274 on our heading. 274. Next thing is DI. We're just going to press D. Okay, so we're at 2,000 feet. Let's see if we can stick at 2,000 feet. Try and get back up to 90 knots. So 274, 204 we have. The N25 is to our left. We would of course be flying with a map. So what we can do is we can bring in little, can we bring little map in without ruining the day? Oh, we've got a trace on. Switch the trace off, thank you. So what have we got? So we're following the M25 and we should be around Dorking at the moment, so, whoops, come on. So we need 12 minutes, we've done 3.5. This looks like where the N25 moves off to the loops to the south a little bit. Oh, it's quite a bit of wind, isn't there? It's probably coming off the ridge. Let's try and stay a bit lower. So 204 on the heading we've got. What you could do is just use something in the, ahead of you. I'm going too fast. Like a field or an object or something in the distance, a building, something, and you can just use that as a reference to point your way, so you don't keep having to refer to your instrument, which of course is good practice anyway, but gives you something to aim at. Yeah, we really don't want to be in cloud. So, not so good today. So 204 in the heading, we're just down to 1800 feet. Of course the trouble is when you're low, your field of vision isn't as good as it is when you're higher. You don't get to see quite so much. So 204 on the heading, and just check our DI. So it's showing 205. Sorry, 75 on there. And what should the heading be? 274. Yeah, no, that is correct. So we're bang on, bang on. So we are 6.5 minutes, so possibly halfway there. So where is that N25? So we're now crossing the N25. So that could be the point at which we said we would cross N25. We're a lot lower than we said we would be, but we're at 90 knots-ish. Let's just bring the map up again. So I reckon we could be around here. So overhead, Leatherhead, north of Dorking. So we've got Dorking to our left. Oops. we've got hills. It's hard to know. There might be a built-up area behind there. Whoa, come on. Oh, this is not fair. It was glorious when I looked out the window this morning. Look at this. Okay, so in the real world, of course, we wouldn't persist. We would just do a U-turn and go back with our tail between our legs and say, yeah, not a good day for flying. I'm paying an awful lot of money for nothing. So, yeah. So 274 on the heading, pretty much. Left a little bit. So there's the N25 just on our right. So we've definitely crossed it there. We're still on track. And we've been going for 8.5 minutes. We've got 4 minutes to go. Sorry, we've got 12 minutes, so we've got nearly 3 minutes. Just shy of 3 minutes. It seems to be clearing up here. Maybe we can climb back up to 2,400. I'm looking out the window, and we are south of, nearly in this area. So let's have a look. So we're just right to track at the moment. Come back a little bit. So can we see what might be an old disused runway ahead of us? Well, not at the moment, we can't. That might be something there. Of course it might not be, so let's climb back up now to our planned altitude. So we should climb at 65 knots, that's going to put our timings out. Just trying to do it sort of cruise climb. Right, wrong heading. .274 and level off at 2,400. Of course, no sooner have we done that, we've got cloud ahead of us again. That's nice. Yes, because we haven't seen much cloud today, have we? No, not here. Nothing to see here. Right, so 90 knots, 2,400-ish, and we are 10 minutes 30. We got 1 minute 30 to run. So is Ockham anywhere to be seen? Let's have a look. Let's do a quick top-down view. Now that is Ockham there, right on the nose. See it? I was right. That is Ockham. Okay. Disused airfield, just there. It's bang on our nose. So that's worked out nicely. So, and we've got 1 minute to run, and that looks about right. So we will continue flying directly to Ockham, and look, the weather's closed in again. Seriously, do you not want me to fly today? I don't think it does. And we will fly directly onto Ockham, even though we're not far. Come on, this is not right. So we are 12 minutes on the dot, and let's have a look out the window. There we go. Ockham is directly on our nose, maybe just half a mile away. So we are good. So let's reset the clock, and we'll take up a new heading, which is 215, and we'll see if we can maintain this altitude, 215. We'll start the clock, and this is 22 minutes. 215. We have. Okay, so quick Frida check. We'll try and stay at this altitude. Just give it a bit more welly, because we need to be at 90 knots for our timings to work. Right, so 215. Okay, so we will use this just as a reference for now. Maintain 215, so fuel is on and sufficient for flight. We know that because we're nearly still full, 2/3 of a tank. And radios are set but dysfunctional. Should go to altitude encoding. Oops, another demerit. Oh, full of demerits. So they're going to take my license away when I get on the ground to Goodwood. They're going to say I have to walk back. So radio set. So engine, we do a bit of carb heat. We just T's and P's are in the green, and ammeter, and there's a suction's there. Suction is good. We're just a bit off wayward with our track. Do you hear the engine note change there when I put the carb heat back in? It's getting hot air, so of course the RPM will go down a bit. So DI, so let's set the DI, so we are flying straight level. We are doing 215, and we'll just do 215 on there. There we go, 215. And altitude, we're at 1900 feet, nearly VMC. So we should have had Guildford on our right. Of course, who knows where that is, because I really can't see it. This is where we've got max drift, if you remember. Let's bring in the this is where the wind is coming in from the west, so this is where it's affecting our flight the most. Okay, so we should have had Guildford and Godalming on our right and Dunsfold on our left. So, oops, let's keep that track going. So, what have we got? Have we got Dunsfold anywhere? We need to be on track though. Thank you. It's very strange, this aeroplane. Sometimes I find that the yoke literally doesn't respond. So let's get on track. 215. Thank you. And what we'll do, we'll use that dark area there as our heading. So, is this Guildford on our right now? Well, it looks busy enough. There's a major road going through it, so I would say that is Guildford. We are 4 minutes into our leg, so 4 minutes, that is, yeah, I would say that's Guildford on our right. So we want 215 in the heading. We're using that dark area there, and that's probably Godalming. That's, yeah, in fact that's the Hog's Back there, the A31. That's the A3 coming out of Guildford. So we're using that dark patch there just as a visual reference help with our heading. So that's very possibly Godalming down there. We're doing 90 knots. So what do we need to see? So where is... of course you have to carry a map with you. So we're allowed to have a map as a reference, but just not with our position on it. So we've got Dunsfold coming up, just a few miles south of Godalming. Whoops. So is that? So where is? Wait, see, it doesn't respond. It's very funny, the WB7152. Sometimes I'm trying to make corrections and nothing happens. Just put the yoke on, see if that... Can't see that patch anymore, so we'll use that one there, that area there. So, where is Dunsfold? That's the question. So, if that is Guildford Godalming, oops. So we are nearly 8 minutes into this leg. So the halfway point will be 11 minutes. And let's look at the map very quickly. So roughly speaking, halfway will be just south of Dunsfold. So really, we need to be seeing Dunsfold, and that I'm not seeing it is a worry. There it is. Dunsfold, I think. Maybe. Hard to say. Oh, it's all fun, isn't it? So, 215 on the heading. Yeah, Dunsfold. There we go. And there's a... oh, didn't know they had those there. The wind generator. I'm not sure they do. I've never seen that. Anyway, back onto course. Thank you very much. So we've seen Dunsfold, and we know we need to be south of Dunsfold, halfway. We are gradually climbing as well, but at least we're maintaining something like the right speed. So 215 on the heading, thank you very much. So let's do a quick check. That's showing we need to be straight and level. Otherwise you get turning errors on the magnetic compass when you're trying to align your DI. So straight and level, thank you very much. That's showing 205. So we need to adjust that 205. Okay, so a bit right. Come a bit right. what have we got? We've got a little lake down there. Is there a lake? Okay, so we're coming up to the some hills here. And where will we see Petworth? Let's have a look. So we are now 10 minutes 40, so we're about halfway along. So we are just coming up to Midhurst VOR, but Midhurst and Petworth are just 3/4 of the way there. So, oops. So we need to be seeing those when we get to 17 odd minutes. Right, time for a quick feeder check. So fuel is on and sufficient. Flight. Radios are set but completely broken. And engine, so car peak coming on. T's and P's are in the green, suction's good, and battery's not discharging. Car peak come back in. And DI, so let's just check the DI. So we're straight and level-ish. We're showing 205. No, 210. 210 we've got. Let's come right a bit. Okay. There's a couple of buildings in the distance that I'm going to use. Now, there. That's my visual reference. So we said about 17 minutes for Petworth, so we're coming up to 12.5. So Petworth and Midhurst are about 3/4 the way, so it's about 16 and a half minutes, something like that, before we see Petworth and Midhurst. Okay, and track is okay, 215, and I think they'll be on runway 24, which should be quite good for us because it'll just be a right base. So let's just do a quick briefing on Goodwood. So we're just going to get Goodwood information for Goodwood. So airport is 200 feet. And what runways has it got? I'm just gonna put a, oops. It's the peril of not looking out the window. And just those are the two buildings I had in mind before, but we need to be heading towards those at 215. So let's have a look. Runways 24. Yeah, 24. Goodness. See, that's the yoke. It's very odd. Let's go back. There's the buildings. So we're coming up to 15 minutes now. So we might see Midhurst and Petworth. It's very odd. I'm using the yoke and nothing happens. It's very strange. This aeroplane. Just going to keep an eye on that yoke. So we're. So have we got Petworth to our left anywhere? Got a river. Petworth House does have a lake, and there is a lake there. And is there a town to our right? Well, it's just hard to tell, isn't it? Very hard to tell. Over there, possibly. Well, let's head towards this here so we can stay on track. So we had a lake down here. So the yoke. I'm moving the yoke, and yeah, there we go. Now it's coming. Don't know. Very odd. That could be no. I did say it was going to be quite hard around here. I'll just use this as our visual reference. I think I can see Chichester Harbour, and it was a 22-minute leg, although we have meandered a lot. This yoke is very odd. It's only the WB sim that does that. I wonder if Petworth is... I mustn't get too fixated on one place. Of course, when you want to see something, you want to see it, don't you? See, I'm moving my yoke, and that's not moving at all. See? Moving it. I am moving that yoke. You can hear it, can't you? See? Moving it. Now it's come back in. Very strange. Only the WB sim that does that. Okay, so we are looking, we're 18.5 minutes, a 22-minute lag, so we could be looking out for the airfield. As I said, I don't really think it's going to be on our nose, so let's dial in Goodwood VOR, and that will tell us how badly we've done. So 11475, I think it was 11475. There we go, and we'll just get okay. It is, if I go on the 180 radial, we'll be heading towards it. So let's steer 180. And we can start reducing altitude. There's Goodwood on our nose. And where is the airfield? Right, and there's the airfield. I think. So we're going to descend. Don't really need carb but we'll put carb on. Landing light can come on, and it's 212 feet, so 1200 will be circuit altitude. It probably isn't, to be fair. And I don't know if that is the airfield. For sure. Yeah. Kind of looks like an airfield. Or not. That's it there. I think that's it there actually. Yeah, I think that's runway 24 there. So we're on the right base 424, I think. So I've got to just descend a bit more and slow down. So coming up to circuit altitude, we'll just imagine that it's 1200. Okay, and let's get into the flap speed. Flap speed we have. Okay, and we're going to balloons, we need to retrim. And I think that is, gosh, this yoke is very odd. Okay, so another stage of flap. And we're going to turn finals. There we go, positively identified. We're turning finals now. Carpeet is still out. Right, so decision to go is land. So carpeet can come in. A bit more on the power. Full flap. So we're looking for 65 knots. Gosh, we are really being buffeted around. Whoa! Stop it. Right, so there's expecting a crosswind from our right, so we'll just crab into the airfield. Nose down, increase speed. Oh. Okay, runway 24 we have, so 65 knots we should have ish. Using a bit of rudder to stay straight. Whoa, gosh. Okay, and over the numbers, bring the power back, bring the power back, bring the power back, bring the power back. Holding it off, 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 holding it off. Oh, it's a bit of a crunch. Okay. But to be honest, in these conditions, I'll take that. Right, so flaps can come up. We wouldn't normally do that until you're off the runway. But this is a grass strip, so I'm happy to bring the flaps up so they don't get damaged. Okay. I'm going to turn off now and head towards the apron, which is to our left, I believe. Yeah, there it is. So we'll just go down this disused, not disused, this, and we'll go. Strobe light can come off, taxi light can come on, and the tower have said park next to them. They've said park there, and this big pushback truck and Bowser and fuel and fire engine courtesy of GSX will be waiting for you. Oh, APU as well. Goodness, I'm glad we got one of them. I'm not quite sure where you park. I've been here once in the real world. We'll park right outside the tower because they want a word with us. Of course they do. They're going to say how brilliant we were. So let's park into wind. So so parking brake can come on, 1200 in the RPM. Okay, then the centrals can come off, so transponder can come off. Lights, radios. Radios are off, and then we've got taxi light off. We should do a quick mag check. So right. Mag drop, left, oops, no hang on, that's left there, so left, right, both, and that dead cut, Oh well. Tried to do a dead cut, but it actually shut down. Never mind. So we do mixture, full lean, then we can do fuel off, and then we can do beacon off, nav light off, alternator off, key off and out, battery off. And yeah, we don't want GSX, thank you very much, bye-bye. And then we can open the door and go and have a drink of something alcoholic, because boy do I need it. Anyway, let's get an external view. There we go, Cessna 152, more or less in one piece. I won't say the same about the airspace behind us, because I think we did a lot of not so good things, but there you go. We got there. We needed artificial means, VOR, at the very end. Yeah, it's hard to find airfields when you're flying, and things like GPSs and nav aids really help. To do it the old school way is pretty darn difficult. Probably a bit easier in the real world because it's easier to see things. You've got a map on your lap, and you can, you've got the transferable information. In the simulator it's a bit hard, and if you look away too long you find your airplane sort of 60 degrees off track and heading towards the ground. So it's an interesting exercise. It shows that it can be done, but it's not easy. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed that a little bit. Not sure I did. Yeah, I did. So with that in mind, we'll see you all on the next one. Bye now.